The being that wants itself eliminates the wealth that enslaves it, and that it enslaves. Intelligence must serve it, not divert it. Because intelligence creates the justifications that support the resultant of the ruler's movement. The concept of the third eye is that of a single vision, because with it, the being sees itself, without body, without soul, without spirit, and prior to purity. Indescribable. I am the way, the truth, and the life, says exactly that. The path that doesn't need to be walked, the truth that doesn't need to be spoken, and the life that doesn't need to be lived. Because it is before the being, and nothing can describe it. Relativizing the being to the size of the form or label is the great and only slavery. The philosopher, who delves into the understanding of the ruler's movement, knows that the elimination of the rulers is the elimination of virtues and, consequently, the need for bottles and labels. The being remains, and nothing is more lost than the mind. Giving it the correct direction is a path to liberation. There is no being that does not have the full power to liberate itself. The philosopher asks himself, what do I become as my body changes? Folly is accepting impotence unimposed, or self-imposed limits. Knowledge is the only thing that never leaves the being. The whole and its parts are the greatest contradiction imposed on knowledge. Eliminate the whole by eliminating its parts, through knowledge of the whole and its parts. The divine is not the sum of its parts. Nothing is as relative as the understanding of a concept. Divinity, for example, gives life to stories, but is not in any of them. The being conceptualizes life with the presence of divinity, when there is not even the presence of the being itself. The being that cries out for divinity in stories, therefore, does not cry out for divinity but for the very story, where it is not even present, while sleeping. The limit is mandatory to the environment, and is imposed in accordance with the rules of the environment. The divine is the being that understands everything. The being is what the being itself is. The being is the being without limits. The imposed limit imposes the environment. Limits come from the mind that comes from the being. Any story comes from the mind that comes from the being, and is eternal and temporary.